Have you ever truly wondered why some investors seem to magically jump to massive opportunities without any clear, linear logic, leaving conventional strategists far behind? The concept of quantum jumping in a financial context teaches that success is not merely a calculated linear progression, but essentially about changing your internal conscious frequency to reliably attract drastically accelerated results. Quantum physics fundamentally shows that an object can exist in multiple states simultaneously, superposition, until an observer actively locks it into one specific reality that is predictable. This powerful quantum analogy is crucial. The money surrounding you exists in many potentials until your precise intention and focused observation force a certain financial reality to tangibly materialize. Mastering this specific principle of observational collapse is a high-value skill that definitively separates struggling investors from those who consistently achieve winning outcomes. What is the single most critical step an investor must take to transform vague financial potential into quantifiable, tangible wealth reality? I will be dissecting this crucial reality-locking step in the middle section of this video. I personally spent my early investment years constantly trapped in a cycle of relentless small losses, always panic selling when the market dipped and buying too late when prices surged, a truly exhausting pattern. I used to incorrectly blame this poor performance on a lack of detailed data or insufficient technical analysis, when the real problem was my destructive emotional resonance with the market's inherent volatility. I realized my own irrational behavior, like crippling loss aversion, was far more powerful than the logic of my most sophisticated, well-constructed spreadsheets. Perhaps you also recognize this persistent dilemma, knowing you should invest long-term, but always being tempted by market short-term signals that fundamentally damage long-term returns. Studying quantum cognition provided me with a clear lens to analyze why our financial decisions often appear completely irrational and self-sabotaging. We will now examine precisely how fundamentally changing your psychological framework and clear intention will directly alter your investment outcomes. The core issue in modern investing is that financial markets operate in a state of extreme quantum uncertainty, not stable, predictable classical logic. Regardless of the immense amount of data analyzed, asset prices always exist in a state of superposition, occupying many potential prices simultaneously until a definitive buy or sell decision is made. The investor's intrinsic fear of uncertainty, called ambiguity aversion, forces them into making premature decisions that are frequently suboptimal and damaging to the portfolio's health. Quantum cognition is the verified field of study modeling investor behavior, showing how psychological biases interact unpredictably with market probabilities. Our market decisions are often deemed irrational by classical utility theory because the human brain processes financial information using complex quantum probability rules. We must accept that market risk is substantially psychological risk driven by an uncontrolled, fluctuating consciousness. The financial conflict is that negative emotions like intense fear and destructive greed act as unreliable observers that prematurely collapse superposition into negative financial outcomes. When you focus intensely on the fear of losing money, this powerful emotion subconsciously triggers panic actions that lock in the feared negative financial reality. Quantum jumping teaches that ideal intention and observation must be emotionally neutral, calm, and detached. functioning precisely like a neutral detector that only gathers clean data. Intense emotions biologically interfere with the prefrontal cortex's ability to rationally process complex market probabilities, forcing decisions to be driven by the fear-processing amygdala. Allowing unexamined emotion to be the primary observer in your investment decisions is the surest way to attract unnecessary volatility and losses. Cultivating emotional detachment is the single most important quantum finance skill you can possibly acquire. The most crucial, actionable step, which directly answers the open-loop question earlier, is reality. Locking through the focused establishment of extremely clear and specific intention. This psychological practice is the direct parallel to the collapse of the wave function, where your conscious, focused intention forces the vague financial potential into a solid, measurable reality. Your defined intention must strictly focus on the desired final outcome. For example, my portfolio is stable and grows 15% this year, completely ignoring existing market difficulties or noise. Clear intention successfully creates a powerful conscious resonance that directs your reticular activating system, RAS, to selectively notice investment opportunities that are highly aligned with that specific goal. Quantum jumping is the resulting ability to make non-linear leaps in wealth because you have successfully locked your intention onto a higher specific reality that then begins to materialize. You must consciously treat your intention as the most powerful measurement tool in your entire financial arsenal. The second solution is cultivating a strict neutral observation ritual that effectively separates the observer, your true self, from the inevitable emotional reaction to market fluctuations. A profound psychological skill. This practice involves monitoring price movements or financial reports as purely neutral data points, deliberately avoiding attaching labels of good or bad to any immediate change. Hawkins's map of consciousness supports this, showing that willingness, 310, and reason, 400, are the energy levels that naturally allow this consistent, neutral observation to occur. This daily ritual can involve a brief meditation before viewing the market or meticulously journaling your immediate emotions before making any major investment decision. By becoming a truly neutral observer, you allow the financial reality you intend to manifest, instead of inadvertently locking in the reality you secretly fear. This is the most effective psychological pathway for turning chaotic superposition into profitable financial reality. The field of neurofinance conclusively proves that mastering psychological biases is the absolute key to effective quantum jumping, far beyond mere external luck or timing. Neurofinance uses advanced brain imaging tools to demonstrate how biases like herding, following the crowd, or anchoring, being stuck on an initial purchase price, damage decision-making at the neurological level. Through strong conscious awareness and clear intention, you can deliberately override the reflexive, bias-driven responses, allowing the more rational quantum logic to successfully take over the process. Intention serves as a powerful correction signal that directs the prefrontal cortex to override the emotional impulses that frequently mislead and cause significant financial loss. Understanding the science behind loss aversion, avoiding immediate realized losses, allows you to strategically design systems that mitigate panic reactions. This entire process represents financial biohacking aimed at maximizing probabilistic gains. The tangible evidence for this concept originates from the established field of quantum finance, which utilizes quantum physics equations, like the Hamiltonian and Schrödinger equations, to precisely model asset price movements. These specific models are demonstrably more accurate at predicting market volatility than classical models, like Black-Scholes, because they account for the nonlinear price jumps, quantum leaps, and inherent uncertainty. Quantum finance views the market as a system never truly in equilibrium, constantly being impacted by interactions in energy, reflecting the fundamental nature of superposition. Quantum models reveal that price movements are profoundly affected by sudden shifts in collective investor sentiment, not solely by static economic variables. This research fully validates the view that the market is a highly dynamic entity whose probabilities are deeply malleable under conscious collective influence. The practical application of quantum jumping begins with radically redefining your deep relationship with money, viewing it primarily as flowing energy rather than as a static, finite, physical entity. If you view money as a fundamental source of fear and chronic scarcity, low energy, you will invariably attract barriers and limited opportunities, resonating with that low frequency. Your intention must be actively programmed to operate at the frequency of abundance and deep gratitude, which naturally attracts greater opportunities and larger investment flows. Daily rituals must include emotionally driven visualization of achieved financial goals, fully convincing your subconscious mind of this new wealth reality. This transformation of consciousness gradually shifts your internal vibrational field, making you significantly more attuned to non-linear opportunities that were previously completely missed. Consider the simple case of two investors observing the same stock drop by 10%. Investor A, dominated by fear, sees absolute loss, panics, and immediately sells, locking in the loss instantly. Investor B, dominated by acceptance, divided by reason, sees a temporary buying opportunity, locking in the reality that the price will inevitably recover significantly. Both investors objectively observe the exact same raw data, but their consciousness perspective collapses two entirely different financial realities. This powerful phenomenon is not simply magic, but the predictable result of the difference in how their nervous systems process uncertainty. Quantum cognition. Investor B succeeds because their intention is locked onto long-term potential, while Investor A is locked onto immediate loss potential. This story confirms that emotional control is the most powerful risk management tool you can possibly cultivate. In conclusion, quantum jumping in finance is the scientific art of locking desired financial probabilities through deliberate conscious intention and emotionally detached observation. The conflict between irrational behavior and maximum gain is overcome by replacing fear-driven emotion with crystal-clear intention and discipline-neutral observation. Evidence from quantum finance and neurofinance confirms that your psychological framework and internal vibrational field directly influence investment outcomes. Use intention as your detector, observation as your debugging tool, and watch as your financial reality makes the quantum leap to a higher, more abundant state. You now possess the scientific roadmap to transform money from a source of anxiety into a genuine source of power and predictable abundance. Therefore, now is the time to immediately apply the quantum reality locking protocol to your investments starting today. Challenge yourself to formulate 3 highly specific financial goals, driven purely by positive emotions, not the fear of failure, and commit to observing them neutrally. Remember this profound truth. Your ultimate wealth resides not in the market, but in your ability to lock in the correct probability through controlled focus and intention. If this science-backed quantum jumping guide has fully opened your eyes to your hidden financial power, please show your deep commitment by immediately hitting the like button right now. Subscribe and widely share this essential video so that more investors understand that the final secret to sustained excellence is mastering the consciousness of the quantum within themselves.